Here we're going to talk about performance measures and specifically the yield management report. So, overall, we're going to look at this from a historical performance perspective, right? Businesses have seasons of recurring periods of times in which demand can be predicted, whether it's high or low. So, that is based on repeated history and can get pretty accurate overall. So, if you think about it like with a community that has a football team with their college or university in town, they can anticipate higher occupancy rates and adjust to having higher per room rates during football season, during the games in the football season, right? So we can use that information to influence the current behavior as far as where people are staying, how they're staying, and things along that line. Okay, so specifically, we're going to look at the yield management report, and it's a tool to help the revenue manager or the general manager to determine if and what measures need to be taken in order to optimize revenue. So a simple yield report will have things like date of arrival. So we can look at sales for specific dates in the futures. It'll have today's date, days until arrival, and we'll look at a couple examples here in a second, at least one. A booking pace, so the number of rooms that have actively been sold. It'll have a historical average, so it can show us an average from previous years, and then it should have the total available rooms as well. Okay, so here we go. We've got the yield management report for the inn at Cross Junction. So as you can see, we have the date of arrival, today's date, the days until they arrive, the booking pace, which is how many we've sold to date, our average, and total available rooms. So if you can see, our booking pace is ahead of the historical average. So we're at, if you look at it from that perspective, we're doing pretty good. So here we change it up a bit to just kind of give you see the differences. Is here our booking pace is 101 and our historical average is 120. So we're well behind the average, which means we're losing ground compared to years past. So the yield management report, if we're off pace, it suggests that sales are behind what is typically expected for this period of time. And that's what we just looked at. Possible actions might include additional advertising to get more people interested, or lowering room rates so that we're enticing people that were considering staying the night would actually go through with that transaction. And then you look at like stuff like the RevPAR. It allows making adjustments 31 days ahead of time of the arrival, so that we can actively promote or adjust room rates. And overall, we need sufficient time to make these strategies play out. We can't just think about marketing or lowering rates within a few days' time. And so we need to think about our long term. And that's what we're looking at with, days until the arrival on our yield management report. So on the other side of that is you can think about if we're ahead of pace, right? We can make adjustments to optimize that as well. Remember that the full occupancy does not necessarily always equal optimal revenue. So what we can think about is increasing the room rates with confidence if we're that far ahead of it. So, in the first one, when we were significantly ahead of the room rate, we can increase the rates for the rooms from that point on out. So any additional room, we're actually increasing our revenue or our margins. Overall, the yield management report should be a daily report that includes data pertaining to the many dates of arrival across the board. So it should display a more complete picture of sales trends and opportunities for revenue optimization. And the next slide, we'll look at one. All right, so here's a yield management report that shows a lot of different days of arrival from the 2nd of March to the 15th of March, right? So if we look at it, let's look at the March 2nd. We're looking at the booking pace that we currently have is 80, and historically we're looking at a booking pace of 81. So we're behind a little bit. And this is where you may, this is not enough days out, but if you had this situation to increase the marketing or decrease the room rates to make up that booking pace difference, then you can look down. Let's look at March 15th, right? We have a booking pace of 60 and historical average of 57. So we're gaining on that. The difference is positive. We're doing pretty good. Now, if our occupancy rate was pretty high here and we had a positive booking pace so that we're ahead, we might consider increasing the price to gain better margins. All right, that concludes our yield management report. Next, we're going to talk about discounting.